Hey guys, this is James, and I am here, and we are here. Heather's with me, and we've got a huge, awesome crew of vineyards and tourism people and winery Vintners Association from Sonoma, one of my absolute favorite places in California and probably also in the world. Although, it seems like everywhere I go, I realize how awesome Sonoma really is. It's a place that has a great name recognition, but it's got a combination of producing some of the best wines in the world, but also being just cool people that are laid back and having fun and really a lot less pretentious than they probably could be, considering how amazing their stuff is. So anyhow, I'm going to play a quick intro, and I will be right back. Hey, so here we are. We're back. We've got a whole great crew today. We have 3 wines we're tasting. We're going to be. Whoops. I love having a wife that helps keep me on track and organized. But we're going to be doing a tasting featuring Alden Ollie. They have a Campbell Ranch Pinot Noir. Then we're going to be going to Dry Creek Vineyards for an Old Vine Zen. And I absolutely love Dry Creek Ranch's labels. They just have packed with geeky information that, maybe some people don't care. They're just like, all I care about is making sure the stuff tastes great. But I love being able to see all the details and nerdy stuff on the bottles. So I really appreciate that. And then we're going to wrap things up with Keller Estate, who actually sent us 2 bottles today. But in interest of time, we're just going to be focusing on their Pinot Noir. And I will be enjoying their Chardonnay. Actually, a lot of us will be enjoying their Chardonnay later. So thank you very much, Anna, for sending both the stuff. So let's go around the horn. I always get that messed up. We're first let's do a quick intro with the different bloggers and influencers. Mike, you want to start off?
Yeah, I'm Mike Satterfield. That's my wife, Jen Satterfield. I have thegentlemanracer.com, and she runs growinguptexas.com.
And John?
Hey guys, I'm Jon Bailey with 2 Dads with Baggage. I just literally got back from Sonoma 2 weeks ago and had a chance to drink several wines. So I'm excited to continue the role.
Excellent. And Tom?
Hey there, I'm Tom Fischer. I am the founder of bourbonblog.com, but I also do a lot of wine, spirits, whiskey education, teaching, tasting, reviews, and I've always been a big fan of Sonoma and California. So happy to be joining you all.
Great. So let's talk about some of the wineries. Start with Anna, then go to Robert. And looks like Dan is still, or maybe I haven't added him to the screen yet. He was having some tech issues there. But Anna, why don't you talk a little bit about Keller Estate, and we'll figure out where Dan is.
Well, hi, I'm Anna Keller, and I'm very happy to be here. We are a family-owned property in the southern tip of Sonoma County. So when you get into Sonoma County from SFO or Oakland, we're probably one of the first wineries that you could stop and visit. All estate, family-owned, and we'll keep talking more.
Sounds good.
Hey, I'm Robert Kennard. I'm the Director of Hospitality and Retail Sales at Dry Creek Vineyard. We're a family-owned winery. We're going on our 50th year here in a minute. 2022 will be our 50th year. And we're up in the northern part of Sonoma County, up above Healdsburg. And as a house, we're a Sauvignon Blanc, Zinfandel, and Cabernet blend house. And today we're going to be tasting one of our Zens.
Excellent. And is Dan here? I know Dan was having technical problems before, but Dan, are you with us? Well, one of you guys, Robert or Anna,
I can hear
sure
you. That's a little glitchy, but
well, rather than having dead air, Dan, if you do end up being able to talk, we'd love to have you throw in there. But Anna or Robert, I assume you're close friends with Dan. Can you do a quick intro for him?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about Dan. So Dan Costa makes absolutely beautiful and stunning Pinot Noirs from Sonoma County. He is born and raised in Sonoma County, and you might know him also from a previous life at Costa Brown. He is actually a wonderful guy and a great friend to know. And I'm sure if you visit Sonoma County, you'll love to enjoy his company. I think it's better if he says more details later.
Excellent. Well, thank you for Anna, and hopefully Dan's internet connection gets a little bit smoother. Technology can be a kind of a pain sometimes, but I guess he left us again. Anyhow, lots of introductions tonight. I'm not sure who should go first. If we should go talk about tourism, Tim, or the Vintners Association. But since Tim raised his hand first.
I think Michael Haney should talk because he makes the second best chili in Sonoma County, and it's important that he tell us about. Yeah, you better take a big swig and tell us about that, Haney. So why doesn't Michael introduce himself first, and then I will correct him. Go ahead, Michael.
I am happy to go first, and James and Heather, thank you for having me. And it's an honor to be the Sonoma County Chili Champion. And to be able to have the second runner up here too, and Tim, that was fantastic. It really wasn't that close, but we're trying to be nice here. But my name is Michael Haney. I'm the executive director of Sonoma County Vintners and Sonoma County Vintners Foundation, and we're one of the largest wine trade associations in the world, representing over 250 winery members here in Sonoma County, and we're honored to be here tonight.
And I'll just lead right into that. Thank you, Michael. And for those who don't know, Michael and I were engaged in a pitted battle of making the best chili when we shared an office. And I was robbed, and it was very sad. But I'm Tim Sonner with Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. I represent the lower southeast quadrant of Sonoma County. So if you think of Sonoma County as, a tri-tip size thing, which is a very California cut of meat, we're in the lower part of it. It's fantastic. We're sort of like if you go from Robert's Winery to Anna Keller's Winery, you take a left and go over the hill at Sonoma Raceway, you're in Sonoma Valley. So really excited to be here, and thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Sounds great. Yeah, and, you mentioned Sonoma Raceway and some different things. Sonoma has a lot of really great stuff that I think sometimes, I don't want to say that gets overshadowed by the wine, but you guys have an amazing dairy, cheesemongers and fresh produce and all those kind of things that, frankly, the last time we went, we were so obsessed with the wine. It was like hitting 5 wineries a day. And at the end of the day, I'm like, flipping through my phone going, oh yeah, that place was fun.
The cheese trail is off the hook. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. It's definitely a county where people like to make things, handcrafted products, whether it's cheese, whether it's wine, whether it's beer. Distilleries are starting to pop up. I'm starting to see an alcohol theme going on here, but farm to table dinners and food as well. So yeah, it's really kind of the whole thing feeds on itself, and the culture feeds on itself.
And don't forget that we've got the ocean, and it's beautiful. So you can go from ocean to forest to prairie. So we've got it all.
And I think that's one of the things that really impressed me about the, a lot of times the people in the industry talk about AVAs, and you see AVAs in the bottle, and a lot of times you'll see kind of just random demarcations. To the layman, it seems like it's a random demarcation of where one AVA starts or a non-AVA location begins. But in Sonoma, you guys have a lot of really varied terrain and very unique terroir that. I know that the guys at Napa talk about their stuff probably more than anybody ever should, but you guys legitimately have, radically different microclimates, whether you're on the coast and then, 20 minutes, from the coast, you have something different, and then you have the mountains and elevation stuff. So I think that's pretty exciting. And to be honest, I'm not sure geographically where the 2 Pinot Noirs we have tonight are from, but I would imagine that based on my experience in that, in your area, that those are going to taste significantly different from one to the next. So I'm really excited to kick things off. So with that being said, I keep talking about why I like Sonoma. What do you guys think really defines Sonoma? Is it the maker-esque kind of stuff, or what? Why Sonoma?
Yeah, James, I can just jump in on that. I know everybody can speak to that very well, but one of the things that defines Sonoma is our people. We're multi-generational families, family owned here. As Robert talked about, the products are handcrafted. And that is at the core of who and what Sonoma is about. And then, of course, you look at the 18 different AVAs and the geographic regions, as Anna said, the coastal influence. It really makes Sonoma County one of the most unique and special places, not only to make wine, but to live, work, and enjoy.
Well, Michael, can I follow up? I think what you've got there is that it's not. We all have great winemakers. Look, one of them just showed up for the 8th time. Hi, Dan. But I think what also is important is that we're farmers, right? So you mentioned like the grape growers, the dairy men and women, whatever the proper term is now, the ranchers, the duck people. So there's like that really good deep ag heritage, and it's a really accessible one. It's not a monoculture. And as you mentioned, James, you drive 20 minutes and you're in a totally different watershed and you're in a totally different experience with the ag. And that's reflected in the food and the wine.
Yeah, if I could jump in on what Tim just said, the heritage is such a huge thing in Sonoma County. And, if you come to my winery, one of the things I'm going to tell you is this area, Sonoma County, my little area, Dry Creek Valley, it's the story of America. It is literally immigrants moving west. It is the gold rush, it is the railroads. And these are families that ended up here. And this was the place to homestead. And this was the place to make their product, to grow their grapes, to, grow their crops. And that's just sort of seeps through pretty much. It just kind of lives in this area, and that culture is here. So, yeah, definitely heritage.
Fantastic. Well, I could talk about Sonoma all day long and listen to you guys talk about Sonoma, but I would really like to crack open some of this wine. I know. I think my wonderful wife has already started tasting a little bit. I can see her out of the back of my other side. But let's kick things off with the Alden Ollie Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir from Campbell Ranch. It's a 2017, and Dan, I guess you're the man who is responsible for it. So can you tell us a little bit more about what we're about to drink?
Yeah, I will. Sorry for the delay there, guys. It was not user error. It was device error. So I changed devices. So here we are. And I know I didn't get to introduce myself, but I'm Dan Costa, formerly of Costa Brown. And we started Alden Alley in 2013. So it's a relatively new project. And what we wanted to do with this project was focus on cooler climates. Obviously, we make Pinot Noir, a lot of Pinot Noir and some Chardonnay. But we wanted to specifically start with the kind of for lack of a better term, I think it's an antiquated term now, but the true Sonoma Coast. So the Campbell Ranch is a vineyard that was the first vineyard that we procured, and now we actually lease most of that property. And it is out towards Annapolis. So it's in the northwest corner of Sonoma County. And it's at about 1,000 feet. I was telling the guys earlier when we were setting up that we were flying around today in an airplane, and it just to add on to what everyone says, I mean, the microclimates it's best seen from an airplane or a helicopter. And today was just an absolute great example of it. We see the fog towards Campbell Ranch, but the fog was low and it was sitting, and you can see Campbell Ranch kind of pop above the fog today. And then we kind of went inland and we started feeling the thermals above the geysers, which means that we're getting into that season right now of all that warm inland air rising and bringing in that marine layer. And of course, Anna's going to talk about that as well. But Campbell Ranch definitely is different. It's more of a Franciscan complex soil, so it does have complexity in the soil. Most of the grapes that we use here are Dijon clones. We do 667, 115, 828, 777. That makes up the bulk of this wine. We just do a couple hundred cases. It is the cornerstone of our Sonoma Coast appellation blend as well. And I think if everyone's kind of digging into this, you'll find that it's not, well, I love Russian River, and Russian River was my first love with Pinot Noir. What we like about this, the difference in this from Russian River, is that we can have it both ways, and Russian River is going to give you real generous fruity notes, where I think this does have the fruit. But what's nice about Campbell Ranch is it gives us a little bit of earthiness, not dirty earth, but kind of forest floor earth, a little bit more pine needle, maybe a little bit of I get bay leaf sometimes. The 17 for us was a little bit more extracted, as you can see in the glass. Typically, we don't get a very extracted wine off of the Campbell Ranch. And that's exactly what we wanted by design, was to have, lean towards a more elegant style. We only use about 25% new French oak on this wine. So it's kind of counterintuitive. A lot of times with the higher end or the tête de cuvées, a lot of people spend a lot more money on oak. We want to let that vineyard speak a little bit outside of the oak. And we employ a little bit of whole cluster fermentation. You can kind of get that on the mouthfeel. But other than that, we just love the Campbell Ranch. Steve Campbell is the owner of it. And we lease it. And it was formerly farmed by Ulysses Valdez before he passed. And now we just have some great farming out there. And it's the only challenge is that it's about a 2-hour drive from Santa Rosa. And it's not an easy drive. So when you get out there and check the vineyards, you got to plan the whole day. So anyway, hope you guys like that. And I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so I can't see everyone's name.
Oh, go ahead, Robert. I was going to say, Dan, I have a question to that. You mentioned the vineyard's out there. So if people want to get this, they don't really go out to the vineyard. A lot of people might not understand that some of these vineyards are really down rugged roads, and they're not just right on the side of the freeway. So the best way to get these wines is probably to visit a tasting room or a restaurant or a retail establishment. Is that right?
Well, actually, right now we don't have that type of outlet. So the best way is always to shoot us an email, or even myself personally, an email. But yeah, restaurants, especially now that they're coming back online, thank God. Restaurants is the best way to find them. There are a couple of little bottle shops around. I don't know specifically at the moment, but again, we make just a few hundred cases. We will have facilities coming soon, though. So that's kind of exciting. And in Healdsburg, or around Healdsburg. So we'll be a little bit more accessible now that we have the means to do so.
I think one of the things that I enjoyed so much about being in Sonoma just a couple weeks ago was just the family feeling you get from visiting some of the wineries and some of the cheese places. And just, it's very casual and very inviting and almost very loving. You know what I mean? It just, it didn't feel like corporate wine. It felt very, I don't know, just very special.
Well, I think first you start with agrarian, where I think in Sonoma County, there's a lot of vertical integration. In other words, there's a lot of growers that are making wine and not a ton of transplants from wherever, Los Angeles, New York. As Mike Haney started with the heritage comment, I'm fourth generation Sonoma County. And so everything that we do it runs deep in our veins, and it wasn't just went out and, purchased something. Everything was started from new and from generations passing on knowledge.
And that's a great point that Dan makes. I know my wife's family there's 6 generations into Sonoma County, and the accessibility when you come out to visit Sonoma to the principals like a Dan Coster and Anna Keller or Kim Stair Wallace at Dry Creek, you're going to be able to engage many times with those individual winemakers or owners or whatever, and that's really special.
Yeah, it's special for both sides. It's special for us too. We don't want to just put a shingle out and have a tasting room manager meet everybody. We love getting dirty, and we love seeing people.
And I think that's the difference between that other valley over there, where you feel like it's like very organized, like it's very corporate and very company driven, and that's one of the things I thought was so special.
Yeah, I think there's a real culture of agriculture here in Sonoma County that seeps into all sort of levels. Having a daughter that's just getting ready to graduate from high school, FFA, Future Farmers of America is a big thing here. And growers that make a product that are really proud of that, but for the most part, not pretentious about it. It's just something that we do, and we try to do the best that we can. And we're proud of our product and what we make, across all agriculture. And I think that sort of positioning to hospitality comes through in a more genuine kind of, this is what I made, come share it with me type of attitude.
Yeah, I'll add to that as well. One of the things that I think people look at the wine industry as being, okay, well, yeah, I'm a VP at a company that has $2 million or $10 million. I'm going to go buy a winery, or, I've got, I'm the 5th generation person that. But one of the things that really impressed me about Sonoma is, I mean, you have some big wineries, but there's also a opportunity for, for the small innovator, the one that just kind of says, hey, you know what, I've got, a couple $100,000, and I'm going to go buy some grapes that are great grapes. I'm going to build something new, and I'm 25 years old, and I'm going to stake my claim. And that, I think, inspired Heather and I. I forgot to introduce Heather. She writes for Chick Vacation and a bunch of freelance stuff. But I think following that trip to Sonoma, we kind of were inspired that, hey, you know what, maybe there's an opportunity to do more than just, drinking great wine. And so, she's at UC Davis just studying winemaking right now. Okay. And, I'm enrolled at Sonoma State for wine business management. And it's one of those things where that trip, it's a free press trip, but it got to be a really expensive press trip because now we're thousands of dollars deep in education expenses. But I think it goes to really show that there's something unique. Like I don't know that other parts of the country would have the same inspirational potential, not just for us, but for lots of people. And looking around, and unfortunately, they don't have the PR ability that some of the people like Dry Creek, for instance. Robert, you guys do a great job of promoting on a regional and national basis. But there's a couple people, I can't remember who they are, but they moved out of San Francisco and opened a pole barn, and I mean literally the website is them with their fingers in the dirt digging up, planting the vines and that kind of stuff. And it just was a really authentic kind of level of wine enjoyment and wine passion that it looks fake until you realize that it's Sonoma, so it probably is real.
Right. We on a PR level, we act like we're bigger than we are. We try and fool people. We're 38 people all told that make up the entire company, but we pretend like we're a couple thousand, and it tends to keep people fooled. So.
Well, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate the fact that I can buy a $12 or $13 bottle of Fumé Blanc that tastes fantastic, but I can also buy a top of the night. Well, I guess we're about to. Why don't we just transition to doing the old Vine Zen?
Look at that segue! Wow.
Yeah, and I want to say on this, and well done to you all on this Pinot. I thought this was delicate. But yet has some great complexity. It has kind of this beautiful kind of almost aerated note into it because I get the herbs, I get, like you said, the bay leaves, the forest floor, but it's just really well layered and it's just very well balanced.
Thank you very much. Glad you like that.
I'm extremely impressed by it too because we've had a lot of Pinots. I feel like everybody's doing Pinot now, and Pinot's kind of turned into the Merlot from the from the 80s and 90s. I think now that there's some really great Pinot Noirs, and there's some really, uninspired Pinot Noirs. But you guys are definitely kicking ass with that one. So
Sonoma County does a great job with their Pinots.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But I hear the old Vine Zins are really good too.
Oh, well, look at that. Let me jump in here real quick, and I'll Dan and Anna were talking about the cooler areas of Sonoma County and talking about, some of the more southerly Russian River areas and farther south in Sonoma County. And Dry Creek Valley we're just to the west of the town of Healdsburg. I'll give Healdsburg a little plug if you've never been there. It's a really amazing wine town. It literally has 3 AVAs that come up against it. So us to the west is Dry Creek Valley. To the north is Alexander Valley, and then down to the south of it is Russian River. So, and we were talking, James was talking about the diversity of like the AVAs in Sonoma County. It's really exemplified here in the fact that you have cool to medium to warm growing areas all right next to one another. So going west out to Dry Creek Valley, I think a long time ago, we had a Chardonnay vineyard out here, and I can only imagine that it was probably the worst Chardonnay ever created on the planet. It's just too warm out here. We would wreck Pinot Noir, we would wreck Chardonnay. They would get ripe too quickly. What works well here are warm area varietals. Sauvignon Blanc is the white wine of Dry Creek Valley, and Sauvignon Blanc works well in cool and warmer climates. It just exhibits different things. Zinfandel is really the varietal that we inherited here in Dry Creek Valley. This goes all the way back to the 1880s to, Italian. We mostly credit the Italian immigrant families with planting this, but, we source from one Zinfandel vineyard that's over 100 years old that's named after this Kozwolski family, so clearly not Italian. And then the other thing that works well are Bordeaux varietals here, Cabernet and Merlot and whatnot. We got here in 1972. We're now on the second generation of Dry Creek Vineyard. It was founded by Dave Stair, who was, kind of those things that inspire you to go to Sonoma County. I mean, he was an MIT graduate living in Boston, fell in love with wine while working in Germany, and then traveled through France. And at some point, early on in his career as an engineer, realized he was doing the wrong thing in his life, and he wasn't chasing his passion. So I still to this day don't know how he talked his wife to move with him with their 2 children to UC Davis to take up winemaking. But that happened. And after he got a degree in winemaking, he found a little piece of dirt out here in Dry Creek. So my boss, Kim Stair-Wallace, his eldest daughter, took over the winery about 15 years ago now. And so now we're firmly on the second generation. As far as wines go, Zinfandel, you talked a little bit about some of the wines we have in distribution. We've got about 7 wines in distribution. We make 32 different wines. So this is a fun one. This is one of our Zinfandels that we make 9 of. This one you may be able to find out there in the world. Surely our Heritage Vine Zinfandel you can find, but the old wine does have some distribution on it, so you might be able to find it. It's a mix of 6 vineyards here in Dry Creek Valley that are all what we call old vine vineyards. The youngest is 96 years old, and the oldest is currently 135 years old. What it brings, to Zinfandel, I find that with the older vines, and this is just my opinion, this isn't a fact or anything, but what I tend to find in Zinfandel is when I get into the older vines, you get a lot more spice, you get a lot more of that cracked black pepper, and you really find this with our old vine Zinfandel. Brambleberries and wild berries are the fruit, and then the spice and the pepper are definitely, what you're gonna pull through on the finish. So I'm just gonna real quick take a second to sip this. Yeah. So to the man tripping thing, if I was going to pair this with food, I would definitely go like smoked food. Something. I don't know if everybody else is playing around with their smokers these days. But,
yeah, Robert, what smokers should they smoke it in, sir? Come on. Brag a little bit.
Can I give a brand name? So I just got a Traeger.
Brag a little bit.
I'm really, really happy with it. I was using an old offset smoker, and I was having to babysit it all day. And this is more like man baking. But your briskets, your pork butts, your ribs and stuff like that, that smoking quality to a meat and Zinfandel really makes for a fantastic pairing. So
I've seen more photos of your smoker than your kid on Facebook.
Pardon me?
I've seen more photos of your smoker than your kid on Facebook.
My kid's getting ready to graduate from high school, She's got her own thing going on.
Right. Fair enough.
Well, I tell you what, between Tim and Michael talking about chili and you talking about smoked pork butt, and I think was it you or was it Dan that mentioned that Sonoma County is kind of tri-tip shaped? Man, I'm really hungry, but thank God for DoorDash.
But James,
I'm not driving anywhere after this.
As Dan knows, I'm a big Zinfandel fan, and Robert just did such a great description about Old Vine Zen, and while those vines in our family, we have vines that are almost 130 years old, and while that production goes down, that intensity, as Robert so well described, really goes up, and it's just such a special wine to be able to taste, and they have some of the best there in Dry Creek.
And they start to self-regulate. The vines, you don't have to farm them as hard because they're not, I always equate the old vines to to grandpa, at Christmas. He may not talk a lot, but if he starts to tell a story, he's got like 1 or 2 whoppers that the whole room just stops and listens to. And that's a lot like the fruit that you get from Old Vine Zen or old vines in general. They're not producing as much, but the fruit that they do produce is really rich and very intense.
Robert, really quick, can you talk about the diversity of Pinot Noir? We make a little Limerick Lane Zinfandel, excuse me, but the diversity of Zinfandel I think equals or surpasses Pinot Noir because you can grow it in warm climates and cool climates. Could you just touch on that? Because I'm always curious about what you would think about that.
I would agree. I do think Pinot Noir is the varietal that shows sort of terroir the best. But Zinfandel's just behind it. I mean, we have a number of vineyards here in Sonoma County, and we have a vineyard out in the Russian River area, so cooler climate. You could blind taste these wines next to each other, and you could pick out Russian River Zinfandel from Dry Creek Valley Zinfandel. Our Russian River Zin is a little smoother, it's a little rounder, it rolls across the palate. It doesn't quite have the spiciness of the warmer vineyards. And so yeah, I think it's a varietal that shows, terroir really well. I also think, a lot of the old vine vineyards, we call them Zinfandel, but when these things got planted 130 years ago, there's all kinds of stuff out in these vineyards. So, we tend to find, Alicante Boucher and, Carignan and all these other things. And so that can kind of twist the overall flavor profile as well. But yeah, I would agree with you.
Now, one of the things that really impressed me about, well, Sonoma in general, but, actually, to be fair, California in general, but especially you guys, Robert, and again, Anna and Dan, I don't know as much about your vineyards as I do Robert's, but conservation and sustainability is something that, Sonoma has done really, really well, and California wine producers have done really well. And, could you talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you guys do from the free run or ground run vines, as well as the bee garden or butterfly garden? You guys do a lot of really cool stuff that probably costs a fortune, but
we kind of tripped into sustainability a couple decades ago on accident. We happened to have a vineyard that we were laying fallow. Just honestly, I think it was that Chardonnay vineyard that I was talking about that we pulled up, and then we had Chenin Blanc there, and the Chard didn't work and the Chenin Blanc didn't work, and so we pulled it up and we let it lay fallow for a while we decided what we were gonna plant. And, there's this whole kind of culture of farming in the United States that kind of coming out of World War II was this better farming through chemistry sort of idea, that, we could fix all of our problems with chemicals. And, sometime a few decades back, we started to figure out that, Mother Nature's already got an answer to a lot of the things, and you don't need to hit things with insecticides and pesticides and herbicides, or at least you don't need to blanket an entire area with them. And we talk about terroir-driven wines and site-specific wines. And you start to find out that if you let what happens naturally in nature, or if you coerce it to do what you want to do it to do with your cover crop, and the way that you prune a vineyard, the type of things you have around your vineyard. We have raptor perches, we have owl boxes. We no longer exterminate for rodents because rodents are food for snakes. Snakes are great for the soil. So, we kind of tripped into it backwards and found out that, by being more hands off, we were actually making better wine. We were actually making, more of that particular area. If you've got native yeast and stuff that's flowing around a particular vineyard that's in one area that's not in another, when that wine starts to kick off fermentation, it's going to be different. It's going to be, site specific. And there's so many variables that we just found out that not only was it the better thing to do, was it better for the planet? Was it better for, our sons and daughters, behind us, but we're actually making a better product because of it. And so Sonoma County, when we talk about things that make us unique, I'm so glad you brought this up because, Michael can talk on this. I mean, this is a Sonoma County agricultural commitment that really nobody has kicked back on. It is agreed upon that this is the way to go. So I'll let Michael.
Well, and absolutely, Sonoma County wine growers really took the lead in the initiative a few years ago and have done just an amazing job on the sustainability efforts here in Sonoma County. And to kind of piggyback on what Robert said as well, related to sustainability, it's just not the environment or the land, it's also about the people. And sustainability, so many of our wineries do such a great job in really taking a holistic approach and assisting and working with and employing their staffs as well. So sustainability while it involves the vineyards and in the winery and so forth, it also involves the people and the teams and staff that work at those wineries as well.
But I think the only way that you can have that is coming back to the fact that it's family driven, because the only people that can have the commitment for generation after generation is the family. You were saying about the other side of the valley, if a corporation owns your land, they have the interest as long as the corporation is finding that it's viable and growing. When you own the land, you don't have a choice. You figure out what's best for the next generation because you're already, you're planting the seed for that generation. I remember I asked Kim Stair once what was the best advice to ensure that the next generation got into the wine business. And actually the first thing she says was, don't let them work the bottling line, because that's probably one of the most frustrating things you can do. And sadly, that's the first thing as parents we do around here. We put the kids on the bottling line and we kind of, traumatize them for a few years, but then they come back because this is their heritage and they've grown around people that understand this. And when we try to communicate our stories, that's what we're trying. When we say it's family owned and it's boutique, we're not trying to be hoity-toity. We're trying to really get down and tell the story of all the hardships we have. But before we started, Dan and I were talking about the lack of rain that we have. And we're still going to make wine, and we're still going to make great wine. We're just going to figure out how the hell to make great wine.
Well, and I think that the lack of wine is something that really
Water.
Or the lack of water, lack of rain. Well, lack of rain causes lack of water. But I'm a huge advocate for no compromises, sustainability. Doing things, and I'm getting more into the do it because it's the right thing. But for a while I was kind of looking and saying like, well, I don't want to. If it's conservation related, then it's not going to be good. And the reality is, like, I'm finding out some of the dry vine wines are just absolutely phenomenal. Or dry farm. I'm sorry.
This is dry farmed. I don't mean I shouldn't be like that. Sorry.
This is why I think actually we're going to be a great couple when we ultimately open a winery of our own at some point. That I have the marketing side, she's got the science and technology side. The right terminology, but it's really special when you start realizing that a dry vine that's not irrigated isn't necessarily a compromise. It's not something that you're like, well, we could irrigate it, but we're just not going to irrigate it. But it's actually produced something that's in many ways better. More bold, more flavorful, more unique. And I think that's really an exciting thing that most people don't think about with wine. But through efforts of
I would just love to have Tim and Michael talk a little bit about sustainability, because I think Sonoma Valley in general is so well known and such a leader in that area, and it's kind of related to what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. They'd be able to talk about it a hell lot better than I would.
I can let maybe Michael talk about that since he's with the Vintner side and the entire county. Because remember, the valley is 1/4 of the entire county. But maybe Michael, and I saw he cleared his throat with some old Vine Zen, which is what we do. So maybe Michael, can you talk a bit about some of the sustainability initiatives and how Vintners are doing that? And you're muted right now, so there you go.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's something that, as we've all said here already, that Sonoma County is very proud of. You're looking at almost 99% of vineyards here in Sonoma County are certified sustainable. That's unique in the world. And some of the initiatives that deal into, as I was talking about, the people, but also water, land management, all these things go into a very, very large step-by-step approach that's, I think it's over 100 different measurements in regards to the sustainability program. So it takes a real effort and it takes a real commitment and passion to doing this. And of course, some of the greatest environmentalists, I think, are our farmers. They want to take care of that. And this is how they make their living. They want to leave it for their families, and they want to leave it better off than they found it. So these type of initiatives that our vintners and our growers do each and every day, and they live this process, are not only great for the wines that we're drinking today, but they're great for the land and great for the wines that we're going to be drinking 20 years from now.
And I think the sustainability component also has community, which we haven't talked about. And I think that it's ensuring that the land is taken care of, that the business is good, but also the community. And I think that's where we outdo ourselves. Every year, there's wonderful events that are meant to bring the community together, share wine, share cheese, share food, support our local charities, support national charities. You go to many of the charities nationwide, and we've got, Dan does a lot of work with charities, and we are supporting, what races more than a good glass of wine, you know? So that's always kind of part also intrinsically of what we're happy to share with the world.
And I think sustainability goes beyond, like you are all saying. I don't want to repeat, but it just says something about best practices. It's a culture thing. If you are like-minded as a community to be sustainable, and sustainable, I love the word because that means a lot of different things to a lot of different sites. And let's not confuse sustainability with organics or biodynamics. Sustainability is a culture thing to me, where if you are committed to this concept, you're going to have the best practices in the vineyards. You're going to have best practices with philanthropy, which thank goodness Sonoma County is in such a great spot now to be philanthropic and take care of our own. It all stems from this idea of sustainability. And I know, the wine growers aren't represented here today, but, you got to commend them on not just getting to the sustainability, but getting there so quickly. And it just says something about the whole community.
And the last thing is that sustainability also means that every year you're looking for improvements. So it's a never-ending story, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a huge amount of time, so I want to make sure that we give some love to you, Anna, because I have your Pinot Noir sitting in front of me, and it smells wonderful from Heather, who just poured it. So I'd love to learn more about what we're about to drink from Keller Estate.
Well, thank you. We are tasting our 2018 El Coro Pinot Noir. And just as Dry Creek is in the northern tip and Alden Alley's wine is on the coast, we are at the southern tip of Sonoma County. And we're actually the newest AVA still for a few more months, hopefully, the newest AVA. And what's really important about that is we've been farming here since 1989. So we were celebrating our 30th anniversary, and our 20th anniversary making wine was 2020. So we've decided to really celebrate 2025. We're just going to assume that 2020 wasn't that important. But we are a little bit different to some of the other Pinot Noir growers in the fact that my dad, as you can see clearly behind me, loves antique cars. And his passion always drove him literally to find the windy roads of Sonoma, which is another great thing when you visit Sonoma County, is that you don't have just one road. You have plenty of small roads that take you from east to west and north to south. And in that exploration, he came upon this beautiful property in the southern tip, bought the property, planted the first vineyard, and in it, he also decided to start working and collecting on the vintage cars he likes. So we here at Keller Estate have a combination of a passion for cars and a passion for agriculture. I would say that my dad's passion are the cars and my passion is the wine, but they do converge beautifully together. And so we only make wines from the fruit that we grow on our property, which makes us a little bit unique. We don't buy fruit from different places. So when you taste the Keller Estate wine, you really are tasting the fruit that we grow here year to year. And instead of tasting the different terroirs from different parts of Sonoma County, in our case, you're tasting the passage of time through our vineyards. In order to be able to do that, we decided to plant as many different regions within our ranch that we had. And this El Coro comes from the ridge top of the property. Oops, there we go. And at the ridge top, we're really exposed to the heavy winds that come in from the bay, actually from the Pacific Ocean. And this is what created our AVA. And the wind creates a wind tunnel that goes out from Bodega Bay, hits Petaluma, and then exits to the San Pablo Bay, creating a very unique microclimate, which creates really a little bit more kind of one of the beautiful things is that many winemakers have come to the Petaluma Gap to purchase fruit because we're able to ripen very early, but also to let the fruit hang on the vines for a longer time and allow for different flavor profiles to grow. Personally, as a family, we've opted for food-friendly wines. It's always my mantra. I believe that wine is meant to be shared with friends, and I wish we all had some food in front of us, but that's my priority, making sure that the wines are really elegant, delicate, food-friendly. The El Coro, I've always loved it. We have a diversity of clones planted on our property, and in particular, the El Coro is not an exception. And my goal really is you've got this beautiful rose petals, hibiscus notes. It's sort of a very deceiving Pinot Noir because it starts beautifully light and forest floor and aromatic on kind of very delicate in the nose. But once you've let it open, it sits in the glass, you find that it really has a beautiful structure, tannin structure, and it opens up, it ages beautifully. and the tannin structure is really kind of very deep and layered. We've gone from ribs to chili, and so I'll bring up duck, because what is better than duck and Pinot Noir? And also being in Petaluma, which, I'm not going to brag, but yes, I am. Petaluma is cheese heaven. So the cheese trail starts and finishes in Petaluma, because that's the original heritage of the region, were dairy farms.
Well, and Petaluma is known for duck too.
Exactly.
Yeah, Liberty Duck. Anna, what does El Coro mean? Why do you call the wine that?
So my family is half Swiss, half Mexican. The Swiss part gives us our last name, Keller. So Keller in German means cellar. So that was a very convenient name for the winery. And my Mexican heritage, we've always kept names in Spanish for all of our wines. El Coro means the choir. And so it stands for a small sculpture of a girl choir that we have right in front of the vineyard. But it also is a choir of aromas and flavors.
Now, since you are where the dairy is, what would you suggest pairing with this wine? Which cheese in particular in your area?
So you know what? I love two dairies around here. Cowgirl Creamery is a big favorite of mine, and she's also a neighbor. And so she's got her Mount Tam, which is kind of a great all-around cheese pairing, wine, a cheese. What is it? A great all-around wine pairing cheese. Sorry, it was the other way around. So that would be one that I'd have close by. And the second one would be Point Reyes Toma. So Toma is a bit of a hard, it's a hard cheese. And Toma is great with Pinot Noir. It just balances out the nicety and the fruit and the earthiness. So those would be my two favorite cheeses.
Well, I tell you what, I'm sure I can convince John to do a road trip with me up to Sonoma. We need to get Mike and Tom out here too.
Yes.
But I would absolutely love to do a cheese, food, wine, to throw some beer in there, just because I feel like you can't not include beer in Sonoma, because it's it's California, but there's so much amazing stuff. Like when you mentioned Point Reyes, everybody knows Point Reyes Blue, but it's easy to forget that Point Reyes has a whole bunch of other flavors too that are equally as good.
Yep.
I will give them a little shout out and just say that I met them. So they're a family-owned business as well, and I went and toured their dairy and had the realization. This is the culmination of everything we've just been talking about. They're just like us, except for instead of grapes, they have cows, and instead of wine, they make cheese. And they're here again, sustainably farmed. They're actually taking leftover spent grains from Lagunitas Brewery as part of the feed that they're feeding into the cows on property. And, all of this work to be kind of low impact. They have a methane generator, like literally all of the cow stuff goes downhill when they clean everything up. And they've literally got this big tent down there that takes the methane that waste produces and creates energy from it. And like 75% of their farm is powered by that. So yeah, really, just another great example of what's going on here. Yeah.
They power their company off of cow farts?
The poop.
Poop power it's called.
The dung, they wash it out, and they've got we have gravity flow wineries. They've got a gravity flow dairy. They have a gravity flow dairy where everything's meant to go down that way. And then from there, they use this generator. I don't know how the generator works, but it takes the gas, the methane gas that this stuff produces, and it makes energy out of it. And then when the waste is completely done, they take that and they till that back into the soil as fertilizer and whatnot. So it's a pretty impressive thing they got going on.
They have very similar systems in landfills where they can capture that methane. Yeah,
all the parts of the cow, all the parts.
Yeah,
absolutely. You need to go on a tour there, Tim. Man, you need to go check them out. There's good stuff going on.
I was gonna say they're happy cows since they're drinking the waste of the beer. So, so it's true. California cows are happy.
They are.
Now,
this El Coro is lovely. I really like this, Anna. The balance of the spice, the floral, everything that you've brought in this is really, really beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Here's the biggest mistake we made here is that Anna and myself and Robert, and we all sent you wine, but we didn't send each other wine.
I know.
So I'm stuck here drinking my own wine while you guys are talking about Dry Creek's Anna's wines.
That's all right. Mike and Jennifer haven't spoken, and they're just like pounding the wine too, I'm sure. So
Yeah,
I
I
know
know.
what's going on. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I was kind of going like, oh, is it delicious?
Well, Anna, I have a question for you, Anna, because similar to Robert, people can visit your winery. How do they like Dan's winery isn't really like a visiting one, but yours is. How do people visit your winery?
Well, the best thing is to go online and check out when we're open. So we do have a tasting room by appointment, and we welcome visitors physically. We also have a wine club, and we are available online. But I am going to do a small pitch because everybody's been cooped up at home, and we came up with a new plan, and everybody wants to hit the road. So we are starting a new program called, how do we do this?
Go that way. Yep, go up.
Hit the road. So basically, we invite you to join us. We've created and curated 3 different rally routes that you can take from different parts of Sonoma County, San Francisco, and Oakland. And so we take you around driving Sonoma County, end up at Keller Estate, enjoy a beautiful tasting and some gorgeous cars. And then we also take you back to where you started by a great, beautiful route. It's about 150 miles for a day trip, which should be a lot of fun.
Wait, do we get to borrow one of your cars, or do we have to use my Camry? How does that work?
Yeah, you have to use your Camry, but it's the nice Camry.
Okay, yeah, I'll get the new one, the 2008. I'll take
Exactly.
that one out. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I think Mike needs to work with me to pitch, Bentley or something, and find a driver so we can do it in style.
Absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I think we're available.
I think we could work on the sponsorship. You gave me a good idea.
But Anna, you mentioned kind of a road trip and so forth, and as part of Sonoma County Wine Month in April, our Vintner organization, we put together kind of like a road show campaign, and you can go on our website at sonomawine.com, and you can even have a playlist from Spotify of particular songs that will help you as you ride around and visiting great wineries like we have here on this show today. So it's a lot of fun.
I got to say that Anna, you also got Michael. I like this. That behind Anna's property is Sonoma Raceway, and they do have a car racing school.
Yeah.
So some people go there and they do the car racing, and they even got a thing called Wednesday night drags, where you can bring your own car and drag race it against other people.
You race it against the police.
Yeah, the high school kids race against the police. That's true. It's they're called like top the cops.
Top
It's
the
hilarious
cops.
to watch. Yeah.
Is that for real?
Tim's got experience about that, about racing against the police. Tim's had a lot of experience.
No, that's how they took the pink slip right out of my Camry. I don't have one anymore because
Well,
I
I was
tell
going to
you,
say, that
that's-
has 2008
that's-
Camry written all over it. All over it.
That's the reason for our Chardonnay and our Rosé, we have screw caps because it's easier to open when you're drag racing.
Dan, you can't know what Dan Costa.
A note from the host: we do not endorse alcohol and driving at the same time. Please drink responsibly and drive responsibly.
Dan means is dressing up in drag like RuPaul's Drag Race. That's what he's trying
Well,
to
if you look carefully on an Alden Alley label, really in small print, it says, if you're not first, you're last.
say. Oh my God! I love that you said that in your whatever accent, Carolina, Tennessee. I forgot where you're from, Michael, but they don't have good chili. I remember that now.
Wow. Well, welcome to almost the second hour of the show where we have nine or 10 people drinking. And anyhow, but on a serious note, I've been toying around the idea of doing a show specifically saluting and appreciating the Mexican heritage in California, in the California wine market. 'Cause I think it's a really interesting story, and we don't have time tonight, but I would love to have you back and kind of figure out a way to explore the story. 'Cause it seems like there's a lot of history with the Franciscans and the mission system that brought wine into California, 200 years ago, 150 years ago. But then, now we have a generation of people who have grown up as vinadores and working in the fields, and now they're tasting rooms. And it's like there's a growing population of incredibly talented, very savvy Mexicans and Latinos in general that are going to be essentially the future of the wine industry in California. And I would love to hear your perspective quickly on that. And then let's let's, if you would like, come back again in the future and we really do a deep dive into that. 'Cause I think it's a topic that doesn't get as much appreciation as it should.
I think so. I thank you. And I love the idea that you want to kind of explore that even more. I think all of the wineries and all of the vineyards in California, and specifically in Sonoma, have a huge debt to the Latino community from the ground up. And what's wonderful to see is that you've got first, second generations, and you see how it passes on, again, family and the tradition of working the fields and growing in the industry is something that is passed on. You see more and more also, I see a lot of women winemakers, Latino women winemakers. You've got Teresa Heredia and Gary Farrell. You've got many people that come from different heritages. And the advantage is that we've got great Mexican and Latino food, which is wonderful. It's so much fun to pair wine with good, good spicy food. And I think that's one of the things that we don't explore often enough. So you can go in many angles and really look at the trajectories from the hardships of coming and immigrating, but also the beautiful culture and the richness that we have.
Excellent. Well, I definitely look forward to doing that, because I think that there's, we know the story of the French and the Italian immigrants and the German immigrants that shaped the wine industry that we enjoy today. But I feel like what's coming forward in, whether it's, frankly, a lot of it is already here. But, certainly in 10, 15, 25 years, we're going to see a wine industry that's going to have a lot of new kinds of grapes, new thinking, new cultural pairings. And, I think that's incredibly exciting that the industry can be as dynamic as that, and hopefully continues to be as welcoming for those people who have great talent.
Now, I have a question for Michael and Tim. Yes, every day is a wonderful day to come to Sonoma County, right? But I also like to come, when things are when not everybody's there. When would be the perfect time? When is your low time, so that people who do not want to be in a large amount of people, when should they come?
Michael, can I jump on that?
Please. Yeah, sure. Please.
So typically, you're right. A lot of people like to come during harvest season, which ironically is when people are busiest and things are a little bit crazier. But the best time for off the beaten path might be November through April, and also midweek. So coming Sunday through Thursday. What people don't realize is that we don't get snow here. It doesn't rain that much. So if you're here in February, March, and April, it might rain, but the hills are green. The mustard is beautiful. The baby sheep are in the fields, and it's a really great time to come visit. Additionally, in November and December, the leaves change. We don't get the same kind of leaf foliage that you might get in New England, but you get beautiful colors in the vineyards that happen in November and December. So long answer longer, November through April, that's our traditional off season, and Sunday through Thursday. Basically, you come here on a Tuesday in February, and I personally will be waiting on you, and Michael will drive you around, and we're going to be in Anna's car, so it'll be great.
And we'll have chili and barbecue.
Absolutely, Robert will have all the wings. All the wings will be smoked.
But not Tim's chili. Not Tim's chili.
I'm swear to God.
When we were just there, it was all mustard flowers, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Just fields and fields of yellow mustard flowers blooming. March, like late March. Gorgeous. And nobody, well, I don't know, maybe this is an unusual year, but less people, I'll say that.
Can I give my little insider tip that how many people are on this thing right now, James? How many people am I giving an inside tip to?
Just 9 of us, nobody else.
Nine or 10, and there's like one person watching us. So
okay, all right.
Lean in.
So in my 22-year career, there is this, first of all, I agree with everything that Tim said. Yes, absolutely. There is this weird anomaly that happens in June. So April and May, we start to ramp up, and we see a bunch of tourism coming here. And June, I think it's because, and I don't know why, I think it's because graduations, I think it's high school graduations and college graduations and things like that. There is a notable drop-off in tourism, and the weather is incredible out here. It's the beginning of summertime, especially if you come during the week. The weekends are always busy. If you're going to come out here to Sonoma County, spend the quality time, spend midweek, and then just end it on the weekend. But you come here midweek in June, the weather is going to be incredible. All your friends are going to be at their kids' graduations and whatnot, and you're really going to have kind of the floor to yourself. So that's a trend that I've been seeing going for a long, long time now. And then once 4th of July weekend kicks off, we just ramp all the way up through the beginning of November, pretty much.
My insider tip would be to kind of separate Sonoma County into 2 or 3 different days. Don't try to do Sonoma County in one day. So choose your region and stay close. If not, you'll end up driving all day, which may or may not be fun. So I would do maybe southern Sonoma County, the midsection of Sonoma County, and then the north. But just kind of pace yourself. I think 2 or 3 wineries a day is great. And that gives you a chance to check out a restaurant, to do some hiking and some exercise. So it gives you kind of a really nice balance.
I couldn't agree with Anna more on that. Absolutely. Sonoma County, unlike Napa, Sonoma County is a very big county, and Napa tends to be very, very channeled. It's from the town of Napa up the valley. Whereas Sonoma County is massive. From Tim's AVA down there to me is probably what, a 40-minute drive?
60 minutes.
60 minutes, yeah.
3 times a week.
And we've talked about driving, but I wanted to give a shout out to Alaskan Airlines and the Sonoma Airport in can't remember the actual name of the town where it's at right now. But not only does Alaska fly direct from a bunch of different areas like San Diego and Los Angeles, and probably a whole bunch of other areas that Tim could probably help me out on, but they have an awesome deal where you can take a case of wine per person home with you without any fees. And that is a awesome thing that I think, it's nice as a wine enjoyer, but I think it's it's also a great thing for the vineyards that there's not this feeling like, okay, I'm gonna have to buy 3 bottles of wine and pay $35 in shipping, and then go to the next place and buy 3 bottles of wine, pay $35 in shipping, but that you can take home a case of wine per person, and that's an awesome thing that I really appreciate them doing.
Yeah, James. So remember, you still got to buy the case. So you got to buy the case from Anna. You got to buy the case from Robert. But you're right; it will be shipped for free as part of the luggage.
Well, if Robert does the penny shipping again, that won't be a problem.
October. It will happen again in October. www.drycreekvineyard.com. To tack on to what James was saying, though, you got to buy the shipping container. You got to buy the shipping case, or if you just try and put a case of wine on there, they're just going to break it for you. So you got to pack it in a 12-bottle shipping container, which is like $10 or something like that.
Is it one container per person?
1 12-pack.
Yeah, we took 12.
Nice.
We took 2 cases home with us, and it was
Nice.
It was kind of ridiculous. But I mean, honestly, if you're traveling to Sonoma, like that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, a 12-pack typically weighs 44 pounds. So if it's over 50 pounds, they'll probably charge you. I'm guessing. I don't know, but Robert, you're exactly right. Usually, you're really safe with just buying a wine shipper, and no, it's a good deal. I use it all the time. And by the way, I mean, it's $50. It would be $50 normally, right, for that first bag. So it's a screaming deal, and they're great. So.
Well, awesome. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody joining us. I suspect, especially as we continue to drink, there'll be a conversation that would go off in directions that God only knows. So we're going to hit the end broadcast button here, unless anybody has anything they want to add as a final note. But anybody from this group that wants to stay on and chat after we end broadcast, feel free.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Wonderful.
Cheers.
I'm going to move on to the next meeting, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.